At around 11 p.m. last night, a story building collapsed at Lagos Street, that is in Garki, Abuja, the FCT, and quite a number of people have been injured, with two confirmed dead. Presently, right now, the talking about FEMA have actually spread most of the people that have been injured to various health facilities so that they can be checked. And then while they keep checking, just in case if anybody's been trapped in that multi-story building. Good afternoon, and this is Nigeria Now, where we'll be looking at a lot of stories and then try to see how we can wrap our every recommendation on how the country can be better. I am Stella Elisha, and I'll be doing this together with Rachel Casey. Good
Hi,
afternoon,
Sally.
Rachel.
Afternoon,
It seems
Sally.
each time I'm mentioning him, I'm always excited and
I'm
happy.
also excited to be here with you.
All right, thank you so
Yes.
much. And to our viewers, you can do well to drop your comment and your contribution on our Facebook and YouTube, and then you can be, part of the conversation by actually, watching us live on social media. Now, let us jump straight into the recent collapse of the story building that happened last night. And according to sources over there, they say it was as a result of the heavy downpour yesterday. You confirm, Rachel, that I actually
It
thought
was.
that the rain was just in the just city of Plateau
Yeah.
State, but then it will beat you to know that talking about the issue of the downfall was actually everywhere. And then the story building collapsed, even though downstairs was actually a plaza, and then people live up. And then, of course, some people must have been asleep by that time. And no wonder we've seen that about two people have been confirmed, even though it was about 37%, but two confirmed dead, and then the remaining are actually in the health facility.
Yes.
But Richard, I just don't want us to focus on just the Abuja multi-story
Yes, of
building.
course not.
We've heard over and over a number of buildings that have collapsed, either as a result of negligence coming from those who did the construction, maybe the building material, maybe even they didn't even take the proper, check to actually check if the soil was actually good, and then now we're seeing that some people are paying for it. Of course, we know that they said in August we'll have heavy downfall, but most people's mind was to flood it.
Yes.
Little did they know that it will
Building
actually
will
affect
collapse.
buildings, that it will collapse to the point it is presently.
Of course, Sally, if the rains that were going to come was that of bringing down houses, then we were looking at hurricane, not rainfall, and NEMA would have warned Nigerians. So this just happened to be a heavy downfall. However, this building collapse has nothing to do with the heavy downpour of rain, because if it was, then I believe every other building in that area should have collapsed also. Now, this just tells us that there are underlying issues, and rain cannot whatsoever be blamed for this rain, because we have witnessed many heavier rain than this. We've had storms in the country in the past, and any building that is well structured will not fall just because of a heavy downpour, because houses are designed to shield you from the rain. Except if we're looking at things that are beyond rain, and I said the hurricane, then of course, then perhaps, but that wasn't the issue in Abuja. It's the kind of rain we had in Jos, we had it across the country in other places. Now this just gives birth or bring to the open underlying issues, and this is where someone was sleeping on their duty. Who were the people in charge of this building in the first place? Who constructed it? Because it's about time that when you are bringing construction company, they should be registered on the bodies that are for council, because we have something like the council for registered builders in Nigeria. Is the construction company you want to work with a registered construction company? Secondly, are the products they are going to use for you registered by SUN? We are looking at the Standard Organization of Nigeria, because there are products that do have this tag that, you know what, this is approved by SON, it means it have passed
All the expected
exactly,
checks
yes,
to know that
quality
you can
check and
use
all
it.
of that.
Yeah.
This is a standard product, you can use it. Now I remember for the case of Jos Plateau State, we used to have the JMDB, that
We
is the
still have
Jos
them.
Metro, is still there, where when a building is you will see, we call it JMDBX, they have cancelled the building. Now it means it's either you have not registered yourself that you are making this building. And most of these organizations, and even in the place for like Lagos, they have a building control agency, because even before Abuja last year, it was like every week one building or other
Collapsing after
was
another.
collapsing in Lagos State. Now most of these organizations or body are given the responsibility of survey, because we have the Ministry of Land, Survey and Housing. They are spread across the country. We have one in Plateau State, and when we call land survey, is that this place you're about to build, if it's a waterlogged area, then it means the foundation of that building should be different. What is the thickness of the concrete you're going to use for your foundation? And this is a multi-story building, so we are looking to at least 3 levels of building. Exactly, what is the size of the concrete you're supposed to use? These are all what people are supposed to check when building, and there are body and organizations that are in charge of this. It means they slept on their job, because this is what it brings to the surface to us, because we cannot blame the heavy downpour. If it was a heavy downpour, then every other building
will have collapsed alongside
exactly,
the story building.
Would have collapsed. So it's time for the government to tax these bodies to wake up and do what is necessary. Are you bypassing protocols when it comes to building houses? Because yes, it's a building, but what about the lives that are being lost? There's nothing that can be done about it. This building can be erected back again, but no life can be brought back again. So it's time for the government to wake up. And even you, Sele, if you are building your if you have the opportunity now to build a shopping complex, your property, who are you contracting to build? Are you using materials that are of standard? And all of that is like when you were about to travel. I'm taking long on this a little bit, because these are some of the things that shows us that we're sleeping. It's like when you are traveling, if I go to the bus station, for example, I'm mindful about the tire of the car I'm about to enter.
Some of us look at the body of the car itself to be sure that it's fit for you.
I'm always mindful about the tire. When I don't understand the tire, I ask the driver, I say, your tire look worn out. Oh, are you sure it can take us to where? Let it be that I caution. So it's the same thing. A lot of people will walk into a building, live in it, without being mindful of the qualities, because we don't know some of the things that we are supposed to put in mind as Nigerians. But we should check, and if there is a need, you should call the necessary authority that I don't feel this building is for standard. It's too thin, it's not as thick as should be. I'm seeing cracks where it shouldn't be. It should be checked, because before a building collapses, it starts showing signs that it is falling apart.
Neglected.
Exactly, but it's being neglected.
Well, I just hope, Richard, this will not just end with us, but I hope that the relevant authorities are actually listening to us. Just like you said, there are some underlying issues that we always turn a blind eye, and then before we realize it, it's very late if we don't do something earlier. So just like we said, the thickness of the concrete, the foundation, if it's a waterlogged land, what is expected, and all of that. And if you have been given the go-ahead to build, make sure that you use the right construction company to actually do that. Because at the end of the day, we see people using substandard materials, and then at the end of the day, you will not consult the right architect to help you do certain things. You're looking for cheap people. Now look at what it has led to. So we just hope that people will learn to do the right thing over time. Now, still looking at the issue of accountability and transparency, we're seeing here right now that the federal government is actually planning to actually probe the ex-Minister of Humanitarian Affairs when it comes to the social register they have. If you remember, Richard, there was a time this present administration said that the social register of the past administration did not meet up to standard, and so they need to go through a new social register to be sure that it's actually the vulnerable and the poor that are being captured. Because we remember when Betty came into power, she stated the fact that they are hoping to elevate about 133 million people out of poverty. of course, it's in her line of assignment, so it's expected that we hear her saying things like this. And she said she has gone around to work with the relevant agency to be sure that everything will be done. And of course, it is one of the ministries that over years a lot of people have had concern and complaints when it comes to doing the right thing. We hear, especially when it comes to school feeding program. I love using that because that is the only thing most Nigerians are aware that the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry was taking care of. Any other thing, very little was being heard of. How many people have been elevated from poverty during the... You cannot give an account. Why? Because this is a ministry that did not do things as expected, and no wonder that the federal government is hoping to probe that ministry so that whoever right now that is there as the new minister will be able to do the right thing without pushing blame and saying, I made these things this way, it's not my fault and all of that, so that we know who to point. Because right now Nigerians are tired of excuses coming from our ministers. We just hope that they stand up and do the right thing.
Hope so. Like Sele, I'm coming from a very different perspective, and of course I'm not one for giving excuses for the government. I am the masses here, and of course I can't sit down and say the government are doing well when they are not, because I am clearly affected by their policies and the things they don't do. So I'm coming from a perspective that, you know what, this ministry started 2019 by the past administration, and then boom, there came 2020 and COVID-19, and this ministry is faced with a challenge they have never seen, they have never dealt with. And not like I'm giving Sadia excuse or saying, but perhaps these were some of the challenges that the ministry had at that time, and we couldn't feel their impact. Now, why I'm taking us back like that is to say that Edu have the chance now to make it better, because that's why I keep saying I'm looking forward to hearing ministers talking about how they will synergize with one another and do the needful, because who is responsible for the data of Nigerians? We are talking about the NIMC, where we have seen that the president recently changed the directors there. We are talking about the BVNs that Nigerians have registered for. These are all registrations. Either we're talking about driver licenses, or we're talking about organizations where we have farmers registered. What about school? These are all ministries that have we're talking about the national population census. As long as you were given birth in a hospital, you were registered and given a certificate of birth, it means these are all sectors that should have the records of Nigerians. Now, it is left for this ministry to depend
on that register,
on all of them for the data, and that is where we will know the poorest of the poor. Yes, in as much as it is now, we don't know exactly the number of our population, because the census is yet to take place, but we have an estimate of how much we are and the people living in poverty. Now, I believe that it is time now for the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry to be able to get it right. Am I saying the past minister should not be probed? Hell no, that's not what I am saying here. But that, of course, we should also look at other factors, because whether we like it or not, when it comes to social development and also disaster management, we had the flooding. We saw some regions getting more aid than the other, and it's not supposed to be like that. We have IDPs all across the country. Not across the country, but in states that have been affected. We have seen more support in other IDPs than the other places. These are all things that the ex-minister should answer to, because regardless of what position you were put in, that is not what you're there for. You are the minister of the nation, just as the president is saying, not for certain ethnic group, not for certain state, not for certain region. So if so amount of money is going to this IDP, it should go to that. If this amount, if relief is going to so people, we shouldn't have waited till people started looting palliative before we started seeing palliative being out there. These were some of the laxity with the past ministry, but I believe that the current minister, with the fire she has, will be able to do better, and we can probably pardon the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs that, you know what, they have picked up and they are doing right by Nigerians as it is now.
Of course, and Rachel, you really stated this thing in the right way, because yes, it's just started recently, so it's possible that Nigerians will pardon the past minister of Humanitarian Affairs, knowing the fact that they're just starting and they're being faced with a challenge they've never seen before, the COVID and likes of it. But right now, I'm happy that Edu is even a doctor
Yes.
to start with. So it's expected that she's even more knowledgeable about certain disaster. She's aware of certain social development. She's
Yes,
aware of
exactly.
certain things, and that she has done her homework well. Just recently, we saw that even the US are committing to pay about $9 million to support those who have been affected by disaster. Now, we're hoping to hear that this money is being shared equally. We're hoping to see that the people that are really being affected by any disaster whatsoever have been given this fund. Because over there, just like you stated, we see certain states being given more priority than others. We see certain people getting more. Just recently, we heard how those in the IDPs in Benue, some of them even give birth while maybe using the restroom. No health care, no health facility whatsoever to support such people. So right now, I'm happy she said she's trying to go through the register so as she learned from their achievements and also some of their challenges.
True.
And with this, you'll be able to know it, okay, this is a case study I'm using. This was how they went about this thing and they didn't succeed. How can I use a different approach? She's still young. She has the energy. And this is not just for that ministry, but this should be to every other ministry. You should check both the challenge and also the success stories of this ministry and see how can we use this to make sure that the right thing is being done. So we wish her all the best in her ministry. I'm happy the ministers are coming one after the other stating things. I'm hoping to hear Wiki stating about what happened in Abuja and what he hopes to do, hopefully to work with other agencies over there. So this is really something that every Nigerian is actually holding. Just like she said, Nigerians are sick and tired of excuses. I don't think Nigerians are going to take excuse henceforth because their eyes is wide open right now and they're ready to work with all the relevant authority. If you're not doing well, they're going to put a vote of no confidence in you.
True.
Now, to round up this conversation today, we'd love to look at the issue of another loan in relation to palliative.
True.
Just this morning, we saw when the governor of Edo State was bringing a brainstorm, trying to say that the federal government did not prepare properly for the removal of the fraud subsidy. And we're seeing that right now, state debt may hit about 1.34 trillion naira over palliative loan. You and I were able to analyze and say, yes, it was 5 billion naira that was given to each state, but then 2.6 is a grant, 2.4 is a loan, and they're given 3 months to pay that loan, which is by December. They should be able to pay this loan. But let us not forget, Richard, that is not the first loan. If you're going to backtrack, there have been about 614 billion naira, way starting from 2019 down to 2021, because the former president even gave certain loan for bridge facility so that it will help the governors of those states then to be able to meet up with certain things. Right now, we're seeing another fresh loan. And you begin to ask the question, how are these governors of these various states hoping to pay this debt? In just 3 months being given to them to do that.
I'd just like to tell the governors to wake up, Sally. Wake up and start generating revenue in your state. Let it be your top priority for your administration. Start something that 8 years later, 4 years later, the next administration will have no choice than to continue where you stop. Because the more I want to have pity on the state, Sele, because we are looking at states with at least 12 states owing in when it comes to salaries. We have states that are yet to implement minimum wages. We're looking at states that the past administration, those who have just resumed office, are meeting a lot of huge sum. And now looking at the federal government stepping in, being very smart in a lot of ways, because I said, why didn't they just stick with the 500 billion that they were just going to share at the federal government level? They had to bring it down to the state level, and now you were seeing that it is just going to mean more trouble for state government. In as much as I would like to say, hey, to the state government, there's no pity in this. As your administration is there, do what is needful. Like wake up and start thinking of how to generate revenue. I know a lot of states that are in the position to generate so much revenue have been struck with insecurity, and it has affected them over time. But it still is a wake-up call, because the federal government have decided to go about it like that, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to keep the ball running for your state. And perhaps it's time we stop seeing overhead bridges and flyovers in the state capital and start seeing the government backing on projects that will generate revenue. The Plateau State is rich. Nasarawa, we have solid mineral. Benue, the fruit basket of the country. We can take it far back to the north and to the northeast, northwest. We can take it back to whatever part of the country have their unique well. It's time for the government to harness it and like just make it bigger, because that's the only way for you to go. I know the December deadline might sound irrational from the federal government, but perhaps they have their reason, and we saw that allocations just came in recently.
Of course.
But even with these allocations in the past, Sele, they are still not being able to meet the need of the state. So yes, it's just for the government to wake up, for our state governors to wake up and say, my state needs to start making money. That is the only way they can go out of this debt. That is the only way they can be able to stabilize their growth economically as a state. I mean, that's the best I can say to the state government.
Because, you know, Rachel, this debt is not, we're just talking about the domestic debt.
This is just domestic
This is just the
debt, yeah.
domestic debt, not to even talk about other debt that is outside. And just like you said, the December might actually look very close. You know, I was looking at, sorry to divert a little, but I just want to connect it with this story, with this event right now we have on the for us to talk about. Just today being Thursday, BRICS have rounded up the summit.
Yes.
And then they had additional 6 countries that they have added. Rachel, I was going through it diligently. Maybe Nigeria somehow made it, but Nigeria was not there. I'm seeing the likes of Ethiopia, I'm seeing the likes of Egypt, and many other countries that have made it. Now, why are we having these countries there? They're looking at oil-producing countries. Rachel, that is to tell you that even as a country, you remember that we've heard analysts, economists coming out to say we should stop beating our chest. We are not part of those countries that are producing oil. We are still part of those that are trying their best to reach there. Now, what am I saying? Just like you said, every state needs to look into what are we good in and how can we channel our energy into this place and make sure that we get something out of it.
Yes.
No matter which state you look at it, Richard, they have something that they can monetize,
yes.
and it will generate fund for them. Even if we're going to talk about whether it's in natural resources or going to agriculture, every state has something. Just like you said, we hope to see them working. This timeline maybe will actually help them to be able to put their heads together and see how can we come up and pay up this debt before December.
Yes.
So we hope that we'll not just sit back, fold our hands as a state or as a country and hoping that things will keep manna from heaven will fall for us. It won't happen. I keep saying that as a country, just like we've heard over and over, we love importing. We don't want to export.
Yeah.
Look at our inflation rate right now, Richard. It's about 24%. By December, we heard that it might be 28%. How bad are we to even look at our exchange rate, Richard? Right now, today it's 800, another day it's 910, and you never can tell what dollar will be tomorrow morning. That is how the market is. Interest rate, a lot of things need to go, and I keep saying we need to channel our energy toward the right way. Well, we hope the state will actually be smart enough, and we hope that please, when the palliative get, because I heard that the likes of Christina and Gombe have gotten 2 billion naira each. So they're yet to get the rest of the money. So when this money get, at least let the poor of the poorest get the money. Let us not just see the rich and mighty sitting down and eating the money when others need it. Well, Rachel, I guess we have to draw the curtains here. Thank you so much for doing this with me. And thank you to our viewers for always making a date on Nigeria Now. Thank you to our supporters, and also thank you to the crew members. Until we come here again, to have a blessed afternoon ahead.
The mandate of reaching out to the world with the message of salvation and truth is a zeal that has consumed us. Equa Television International is live 24/7, reaching out to the unreached with undiluted message of hope through its programming.
You can be part of what God is using us to do by praying for Equa TV and supporting Equa TV. Keep watching Equa Television International.
We are a Christian station with the driving force and mandate to reach out to the world with the gospel of salvation and truth through programming and soul-lifting events.
You can join on this mandate. Let's spread the gospel of truth and salvation to the world. Pray for Equa Television. Support Equa Television. Keep watching Equa Television.
Sharing with the world the message of truth to help people come to the saving knowledge of our Lord and King, Jesus Christ, as well as find solace in Him.
From sermon, theology, undiluted biblical principles to Christian